Corrine Malcolm, rest day. Man, it's been a minute since we've done this before.
I know you cheated on me with Tim.
Yeah, we missed you while you were in Cape Town. Maybe let's start there. We've got an action-packed docket here. We don't have a lot of time to, catch up. We got to do that a little bit over the weekend at the Western States Lottery, but share with the people a little bit about what you've been up to. You were down in Cape Town.
Yeah, luckily I've gotten my voice back and I sound half decent and I'm not coughing up a storm. Yeah, I was down in Cape Town to run the UTCT 100 miler. Unfortunately, I took a bit of a cold over with me that I didn't know I had until I landed, and ended up getting pulled by medical at mile 73 because I was wheezing just like horribly. Like breathing was getting really, really weird. So yeah, they pulled me before going over Chappie's Peak effectively, which is a pretty remote section of the course that you hit at mile 73. It takes the fastest runners 3 to 4 hours to do that next section. It's only like 16 kilometers. So they said, you're not leaving here. And I said, cool. And I took a nap and the nap was really nice.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I actually had a similar thing happen in 2017. I traveled all the way down there for the 100K. This is before the miler existed. I was in the shape of my life too, and came down with a traveler's illness. But we know Stu and the team at UTCT put on a great experience there for runners. So I trust you had a good time in Cape Town, all things considered.
I love that place. Like Stu's amazing. I was like, I'm still missing 16 Ks of this course that I have not run. So I'm going to have to go back at some point in time. Maybe to do something else down there, but run that section of the course. But it's my third time going to be at the event in some capacity. And I had Esther Kendall with me there this time. And we got to go on 3 days of wine tasting after said race disaster. And that did mend some of the wounds in the South African wine lands. That was okay.
Well, shout out to Esther Kendall. Those in the space will know that she is the team manager at the North Face. And just squeezing this in here at the top because we won't talk about it. Freetrail did release a new film last week called A Lap for Bill, documenting Zach Miller's participation in the 2025 Hardrock 100. We're going to talk a lot about Hardrock here. So if you haven't gotten around to watching that film, we worked closely with Esther and her team to bring it to life. So thanks to North Face for that opportunity. Glad you guys got to hang out down there in Cape Town. The docket, Corrine, we got a lot to talk about. The stream went down yesterday when we were at Placer High School doing the Western States Lottery broadcast. So we weren't able to really fully debrief there. So we got to do it here. I guess before we launch into how the lottery progressed, just to level set for the audience, stuff that we talked about in our preamble before the lottery commenced. All 10 of the top 10 women are returning in 2026, which is very exciting. 7 of the top 10 men are returning. The people who are not are first and second place finishers, M1 and M2. Caleb Olson and Chris Myers, 2 of the fastest men of all time at Western States, are not returning. Kind of makes me sad, but certainly I understand it. Also, Peter Frano, the super fast Slovakian who finished 9th last year, he's also opting not to return. So 17 out of those top 20 athletes are returning. Corrine, maybe just contextualize this quickly before we move to how things played out in the lotto.
Yeah, what we talked about before the lottery went live on Saturday, which feels like it wasn't yesterday. It feels like it was a week ago somehow. I'm jet lagged again, basically, just from my California trip. But that's about par for the course, if not a little bit better feeling than last year, particularly because I think we had a lot of late exits in the women's field with pregnancy deferrals. But 16 to 17 coming back feels like about as good as we can get over the last, let's call it 6 to 8 years of Western States in the top 10 returning athletes. We're not seeing as many athletes come back year after year after year. We've got a good crop of athletes who are either, I think, looking to make their second appearance here or, have been in it for a long time at this point and are starting to stack up towards that 10 number, the big 10 in the top 10 number, i.e. someone like Emily Hawgood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 17 out of top 20. It is basically right on the average for the past 5 years. Unfortunately, those top 2 men, Caleb Olson and Chris Myers, are not going to be returning. We'll have some news about what they might be targeting later in today's broadcast. But certainly interesting as we saw the lottery commence. I was sitting on stage the entire time writing notes. I've got my doc in front of me here, Corrine. Starting with the internationalization of the Western States 100. This is something that I track at the lottery every year. If you had to guess, how many countries, including the United States of America, were included in just the lottery, not including the wait list?
42.
You overguessed. It's actually 30, which I think is also pretty remarkable.
No, it is. It is. And we felt that in the audience too. We were like, Australia, Belgium, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. So I'm just going to rattle through it because I think it's fun. So obviously the United States has the most runners in the field. Germany, Great Britain, Norway, Belgium, Canada, Australia, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Poland, Slovenia, Hong Kong, Brazil, Spain, the Czech Republic, Korea, France, Switzerland, New Zealand, the Philippines, Sweden, Japan, South Africa, Denmark, Italy, Finland, China, Slovakia, and wait for it, last one, Brunei. Everybody in the audience was like, where's Brunei? And me and Topher were sitting up there on stage. Of course, I Google mapped it and learned where the country of Brunei is. So shout out to that runner. We're very excited. I'm assuming it has to be the first runner ever.
More than likely. And then you also had, interestingly, I think the guy from Puerto Rico was in the audience.
Yes.
He was one of the early draws into the race. And we're like, there's no way he's here. And all of a sudden he came running down onto stage with his flag. It was really, really exciting.
Puerto Rican flag flying overhead. A lot of national pride there. So shout out to everybody around the globe who got in. It was definitely incredible vibes in the audience too. Oh, I also made a note of how many people were there in person. You want to guess that also?
What's the capacity of the theater? Because we had more than that. Because there was standing room only, and there were people out in the entryway and in the hallway upstairs.
Yeah, I don't know. The capacity I would guess is 400 in the theater.
How many do we have?
18.
So you're saying 18 people there in person to select, plus the 3 that we drew from the audience. So 21 in total.
So a total of 21 people were there to accept their spots into Western States in person. And each and every time that somebody gets to do it, there's goosebumps in the auditorium.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We had people that were there who had 2 tickets in the lottery who got pulled. And we had people who, were there who had 10 years of tickets in the lottery and will make up the first 3 spots on the wait list.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to be there in person. It's just extra special.
Yeah. Including our guy, Neil Feldman, who joined us in the pre-show. He was again not drawn in the lottery with 512 tickets. He will get in off the wait list.
He is first on the wait list and he'll get in like 2 weeks time.
Unbelievable. Only 2 out of the 5 people with 512 tickets got drawn in the main
We did draw a lot of the 256, which was good. And we drew a good number of the 128s. So that feels like a tiny blessing, but it's a numbers game and the odds are never in our favor.
Yeah. All right. So some other fun names who got pulled in the lottery itself. John Kelly, the 3-time Barkley Marathons finisher from Boone, North Carolina. That was an early name drawn. That
I drew it.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's a lot.
I had to tell Tweetmeyer who John Kelly was.
Right. Zach Marion, who was not in person. In fact, he was helping to produce the Hardrock Lottery, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So, I had to tell Tweetmeyer the significance of that. Of course, Zach Marion helps to run a lot of the Mountain Outpost broadcasts and is a sort of like long time, very key member of the trail running community, especially on sort of the media and event coverage side of things.
Yeah, Jamil got in last year. Zach gets in this year. You can get in next year. We'll just keep rolling it forward.
Yeah. So Zach Marion, they're going to have to backfill his responsibilities on the Mountain Outpost team for the Western States broadcast in 2026.
Which is actually hard because not only does he help on the producing side of things in a big way, he often is one of our stand-ins, like doing like the overnight coverage and that kind of stuff. So it's like we've leaned on Zach pretty heavily the last couple of years at Western States. So he will be sorely missed from the broadcast standpoint, but excited for him to get to run the race.
a great utility player. I mean, he has been an on-course correspondent in years past.
He ran the first year of our Pterodex running down Cal Street 2 years ago. That was Zach Marion running that camera.
He's a good athlete too. So, Zach's going to be getting fit now. And again, Mountain Outpost has whatever it is, 6.5 months to get prepared to, reinforce the team. And I'm sure they'll do just that. Justin Grunwald also got in, a very fast runner from Boulder, Colorado. He has been chasing golden tickets for a long time. Finally,
did you see his Instagram story?
No.
His Instagram story was, I need to go Google this because it feels like a really mean practical joke that Amanda had 30 of my friends text me after a long night of work that I got into Western States.
Yeah, I'll pull up my text with him, but it was something to the effect of, I said, dude, you got into Western States. And he responded at like 11:30 in the morning. Let me see. I'll pull it up.
He was probably sleeping, like coming off night shift.
Yeah, he responded like 2 hours later, said, yes, exclamation point. I just woke up. So a great way to wake up. 30 text messages from various trail runners in your life. It's going to be great to have Justin Grunwald. Zach Garner, great young athlete from Utah, only 25 years old. He's won the Andorra by UTMB race. He's got a lot of, great,
he's fast,
very fast athlete. He's registered for the Big Alta 100K too. So that'll be a good tune-up for young Zach Garner from Provo. Joe Corsione, the host of the Everyday Ultra podcast, a fan favorite in the sport.
So great. We'll have great, his Western States build-up is going to be, documented well on YouTube, I'm sure. So keep your eyes peeled for whatever Joe comes up with.
Sarah Ostaszewski, former Cocodona champion, her twin sister ran last year.
And she was on the wait list. Sarah was on the wait list and did not get in, but ultimately got to pace Melissa Ostaszewski, her sister, to her Western States finish last year.
Yeah, so Sarah has her chance in 2026. And then last but not least, the last name I have written down here in my notes is Jimmy Elam, who's on the wait list, but more or less automatic. I forget where he was, but it was
23rd. He's 23rd on the wait list, so he's in Western States effectively. The issue is he got into Hardrock, which we'll talk about here in a second.
That's why I saved it for last, because I felt like it was a good segue.
It's a good segue, but I've got two things to add as well, because while this year's lottery pulled stronger for the fast male athletes, last year we got a number of women that were top 10 contenders out of the lottery, which is very, very exciting. But I also had Colton Gale, who's in the audience, 6 years, I think, or 7 years in the lottery. He won Waldo 100K last year. Really excited for him to get his final shot at a Western States belt buckle. And then Stacy Marion, who's a North Bend, Washington gal here, super strong, has run in the top 10 at TDS. Had a really hard day at Kodiak this fall in the 100-mile distance, but is really solid and completely under the radar. So I'm super excited for her. And then the last one is interesting as we move into golden ticket season, or the remainder of golden ticket season, because I wouldn't be surprised if we have a father-daughter duo in Western States, which I don't know that that's happened, in recent years, where Steve Lechty of Lolo, Montana, got pulled in the lottery, 55 years old. His daughter, who's 26 or 27, former MSU cross-country and track and field star, Madison Lechty, was 9th at Canyons last year, ran a super, super solid race, was kind of chasing for that final golden ticket spot that ultimately did not kind of roll into that section of the top 10 field. But I was like, man, if Madison goes on a golden ticket chase this spring, that'd be really cool to have a father-daughter duo in Western States.
That would be amazing. Looking ahead to our fun storylines and some of our pre-produced content, that seems like it would be a great candidate should Madison take a run at the golden tickets. And I'm sure maybe dad getting in gives her a little extra motivation. Hey, I got to go whoop dad's ass on the Western States course. Wouldn't that?
Yeah, but how cool, how cool
Yes.
to be in your 50s, get into Western States, and you're your post collegiate, now trail and ultra running daughter is potentially could find her way to that start line as well.
Totally. If I was Papa Lechty, I'd be pressuring my daughter to go get.
He probably wants her as a pacer, though, right? So maybe he's saying, "Hey, you'll get your chance. This is Steve's year."
Well, that'd be a great consolation prize if she didn't get the golden ticket. Hey, come experience it as a pacer for the eventual day that you do get your chance.
Yeah.
Anyway,
100%.
Western States Lottery, so much freaking fun. That was my third time being there in person. I will never miss it as long as I can if I don't have conflicts. It's just such a fun couple of hours. And anybody who can make it in person, not only do you have a better chance of getting into the race itself, but it is just such a fun morning there in Auburn, California. Moving on to Hardrock, if we are ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
The major headline, obviously, Katie versus Courtney. The last 4 years have been owned by these two great champions at Hardrock. Courtney, 3-time champion. Katie, 1-time champion in her only running of Hardrock, where she set the course record. That was this year, 2025. It's the first time they're going head-to-head since the Western States 2023 duel, where Courtney pulled away in the second half to set that astonishing course record. You and I will both remember being there on the track for that. Starting with Katie versus Courtney, what do you think, Corrine?
I mean, it's the showdown we've all wanted. You know, we're putting this on them, unfortunately, but it's, you know, we've watched them. They're not dodging each other. I hate when people say that. You know, have amazing performances at Western States, have amazing performances at UTMB, independently have amazing performances at Hardrock, but to get them both in the same start line has not been easy, and that's okay. But I'm so excited that it should, you know, pending everyone getting to the start line healthy, happen in July. And that to me is just like a big moment. Interestingly, one of the things that it made me think of, and it sounds like Tara Dower really is excited about the double, like really like that's her dream is the double, the Western States Hardrock double. And in my mind, I'm like, man, if I was Tara, I would want to make sure that I came into Hardrock ready to upset the Katie Courtney showdown. And if I'm Tara, and she's so good at burying herself, she's going to bury herself at Western States, hopefully to a phenomenal performance, but to like not come into Hardrock potentially like, you know, 1,000% ready to like upset the quote unquote like goats of Katie and Courtney. Like that to me is just like, oh man, like you clearly can run your way into a golden ticket. Maybe just like come ready to party at the Hardrock race this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum for Tara, and I want to spend another minute on her. But lingering on Katie versus Courtney, like you said, yeah, I mean, they've had their independent goals, and because of how their careers have, where the chips have fallen, they just haven't been on the same start line. It's not, you know, dodging a word that I bristle at for sure. But, you know, the fans, I'm sure, are going to be excited to see this. And I think both Katie and Courtney understand that they can do a lot better on the Hardrock course, and having each other there to push one or both of them to transcendent performances on the Hardrock course. As I look at the record books in trail running right now, the women's Hardrock course record is the one that I think can still go down by a huge margin.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them has had a great day at Hardrock yet. I mean, all of Courtney's performances there have been hard days. Yeah. Have been really challenging.
She got like slightly faster each time, won 3 years in a row, but never had a Courtney Daulwalter day. And then last year, I was obviously there in person watching Katie at the front of the race too. She was ahead of Courtney's splits basically the entire time by a massive margin early. Slowly that margin shrank. Eventually she was able to break the course record herself, but acknowledged that it also wasn't a great day for Katie. I think both of them have the potential to go sub 24. And to me, as I look ahead towards the story of 2026, it's like breaking 24 at Hardrock for Katie, Courtney. And then let's start talking about further down on the Hardrock start list, because this is one for the ages at Hardrock. And we should start maybe with Dale's picks, Tara Dower, who you just mentioned, and
which we're now calling special consideration picks, I've been told.
Okay. All right. I wasn't,
because it is the board. It is the board and Dale, I think, that work together on this.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. So anyway, the 6, well, let's just start with the women. Courtney Daulwalter was one of these special considerations entries, Tara Dower, who you just mentioned, and the third was Kareth Arnold. So we've talked about Courtney. Tara, of the rest of the women on the start list, has the best chance, I would say, of playing spoiler to the two greatest we've seen in this generation, Katie Scheid and Courtney Daulwalter. Tara coming off a massive course record victory at Javelina. We remember earlier this year at Black Canyon where she was second behind Riley Brady at Black Canyon, had a little bit of bad luck in the middle of the season, getting sick right before Western States. So now I'm also thinking like, what's going on in Tara's mind, right? Because she had that just unfortunate timing right before Western States, coming down with an illness that eventually compromised her race, and she dropped out somewhere in the middle. So now I'm sure she's hungry to go back to Western States. But as you said, Corrine, like, man, Katie, Courtney, wouldn't Tara be such an amazing third factor on the Hardrock start line if she was fresh? I wonder what's going through her head.
Yeah, it's like, and it's there. It's not, we can say we would love to see them race in X capacity or Y capacity, but it's ultimately, it's the athlete's choice, right? And so it's like, that is, I don't know, it's a bummer to not see everyone come into the race like really firing on all cylinders, but that is what it is a little bit. And so I think it's I don't know. We'll wait and see. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, a great example would be like Tara was tired at Mammoth 200 and pulled 70 or 80 miles in. And that effectively was just like her tune-up for Javelina, and then knocked Javelina out of the park. So it's like, I hope she has a great race at Western States, but we've got some flex and leeway for things to turn out different ways.
If there's anybody who can lace the Western States Hardrock double, it's Tara Dower. And I do believe, I don't have it up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Courtney Daulwalter owns the overall Western States Hardrock double time at this point for both men and women. So that would be a big target for Tara. Kareth Arnold, another very interesting name in the special consideration pick pool. She has volunteered for many years at the Chapman aid station. She is the protege of our good friend Bill Shum, the good people at Chapman aid station, who, for those who longtime listeners know, that was a very important moment for me in my hard rock career, where the people at Chapman aid station basically babysat me for 3 hours before I walked to the finish, saving me from certain DNF. So Kareth has been a great volunteer at Chapman, now getting her shot to run Hard Rock as well, coming off a great season that included a victory at TDS last August.
And she just finished second in a phenomenal run in Chiang Mai. So an absolutely, like, honestly, Kareth's season is a little bit scary, is what I'll say. Like, it's a little bit scary. Like the volume of which she was able to race is intimidating. Yeah. And she almost made it into Western States. Like, her race at Canyons was freaking phenomenal back in April. Like, right. URoy, maybe not a full Troy top 10, given that like we're distance agnostic, but man, Kareth's looking good for having a strong showing in like the North American URoy ranking this year. And if she does not make it into the top 10 in the ultra status, that feels a little bit criminal, because she has had a very, very strong season.
Yeah. Very, very good point. So between Katie Schei, Courtney Daulwalter, Tara Dower, Kareth Arnold, are we breaking 24? Are we going sub 24 for the women at Hard Rock next year, Corrine?
I freaking hope so.
Let's go.
Yeah. Right. I wouldn't be surprised.
Neither.
Like you need strength in the field, I think, to push it forward. And if you have a full power Courtney and a full power Katie, and then you've got people like Kareth Arnold and Tara Dower in the wings, I don't know. You got Alyssa St. Laurent at good. There are a number of people, right? If they're all of a sudden in the starting field, there's some fighting power in there.
Totally. I mean, but as a power four at Hard Rock, I don't think we've ever seen talent like that in the women's race. So
no, it is a very deep, very strong women's race. And when your field doesn't get to be that big, you can have it's kind of crazy. The field is not that big, but the depth in this women's field is incredibly strong. And I will say, I think, because again, the women get the percent of the start field that they have percent in the lottery. And I think we're almost at 30% women, which is
great.
Outside of the races that are mandatory 50-50%, right now, Hard Rock is doing better than basically any other big 100-mile race as far as having women on the start line, which I never thought I would say. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And we should say that these women are going to be competing for overall positions at Hard Rock. So
very, very much so.
Good transition to come back to our Dale's picks, because as we look at the men's race, obviously, like I said, on the women's side, the big headline is Katie versus Courtney. Big headline on the men's side is Tom Evans versus Caleb Olson, the reigning UTMB champ versus the reigning Western States champ. This is going to be both of their Hard Rock debuts. Both are also in that special consideration, aka Dale's pick categories.
And I would just say, well, because this was confusing to me, and I just want to like point this out, because I actually didn't understand this until literally 10 minutes ago. Because when I ran UTCT, I was like, well, it's after the qualifying window for this year's Hardrock Lottery, so I guess it's just my 2027 and 2028 qualifier. And I think I'm wrong on that. And like Olga King commented on the I Run Far Hardrock Lottery post saying like, how did Caleb qualify for the lottery? And I was like, great question. How did he qualify for the lottery? He ran and won Grampian Peaks, but that's in November. It's after the lottery closes, but it's not. And if you go to the race website and you look at the Hard Rock qualifier races, Diagonal des Fous, Ultra Trail Cape Town, and Grampian Peaks technically are all after the lottery window. But because they are before the lottery draw, it's easier to probably vet those results because it's not that many people applying off of that specific qualifier. And so all of those, the 2025 race of those races, Diagonal des Fous, Ultra Trail Cape Town, and Grampian Peaks, the 2025 race is still eligible for the 2026 lottery. So in theory, I think those races are actually eligible for 3 years of racing if you play your cards right, which is kind of a sick little qualifier hack.
Yeah, that's a good little hack.
But I was like, I was curious. I was like, wait, how did Caleb qualify? And then it took me a second to put it together, but it does appear it's all above board. No one did anything suspicious. We don't have to go shred any paperwork on the back end. But I actually literally just put it together now.
Yeah. All right. Well, comments on the duel. I mean, Tom is in the pantheon now. One of the very few people who've won both Western States and UTMB. Of course, he's also won CCC and stuff. He's the type of athlete who can perform on any course. This will be, probably the hardest and longest race that he's done in his career. Caleb is maybe the most exciting young-ish athlete, maybe only 30 years old at this point, emerging into his prime, so to speak. Tom's a few years ahead of him, a little bit more experienced, maybe a little bit more decorated, but Caleb's a Western States champ and he won 15-11. It's going to be an incredible duel. Yeah,
I think what's interesting is that the lottery kind of shakes up everyone's season plans, right? And I kind of thought that Tom might be trying to get back into Western States.
Me too.
And so this does mean that now unfortunately we'll not see him on the Western States start line because he'll be putting his eggs in the Hard Rock basket, which I'm excited about. Like, I am excited to see Tom go to Hard Rock. Like, that is very, very cool. But it does mean that we won't have him at Western States. In the same vein, Caleb, I think, was supposed to be focusing on UTMB. And now we'll be focusing on Hard Rock. So I do think it's kind of this like interesting twist of fate of like, you put in, you might get your name called, and you just got to be ready to like say, okay, those are my 2026 race plans now.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we move off them, what an exciting moment for the sport. We also have to obviously put some respect on the two-time defending champ, Ludovic Pomeré.
Course record holder.
So it feels silly to talk about Tom versus Caleb without mentioning Ludo.
No, it's like the chopped kitchen, like Ludo is the reigning chopped champion, and they just keep bringing in hot new chefs to compete against this like grizzled veteran. And it's, we keep being like, oh yeah, it's about these guys. And then again, it's about Ludo. So I do think that the men's race is very, very interesting. I'm kind of happy that it's not like just a bunch of French guys duking it out in Silverton. I am excited that there's some really strong American mountain runners on that list. I'm really excited to see someone like Tom be on that list. So I think it's good. It's good for the sport. It's good for the fandom in a big way.
Yeah.
And not to be remiss, some former podium finishers, including Dylan Bowman and Ryan Smith, I think are also finding their way back to the start line. Maybe you guys can relive your duel from a number of years ago.
We'll talk about those old guys here in a sec, but we got to talk about the other old guy, Ludo. I mean, I was actually kind of surprised that he's going to be returning to Hard Rock because he's won it the last 2 years, meaning he's won it in both directions. Obviously, Hardrock is an incredible race. I can see why you would want to continue returning when you're the champion. We should say, where Western States, the top 10 are all invited back for the following year. At Hardrock, it's only the winners who are invited back. So in this case, Katie Scheid and Ludovic Pomeray, it looks like both of them will be returning.
Is there any history on like a three-peat in consecutive years at all? Is there some reason, or something that's like kind of like tempting or poetic about coming back for a third year in a row?
It's an interesting question. I'd have to really probe my
Hardrock
brain.
historical knowledge
would be the name that would most immediately come to mind.
Yeah, but like on the men's side, have we had kind of a back to back to back?
Actually, no. Killian won 4 in a row. Won 4 in a row. Yeah.
Maybe Ludo wants it.
Let's go. 1, 2 in each direction. All right.
Let's go, Ludo.
You're only halfway there. By the time you have your 55th birthday, you're going to have 4 Hardrocks. It's going to be amazing. And you're going to slay all the giants who
I'm not going to get in until I'm 55. So it's totally fine.
Oh, gotta love it. Okay, moving further down off the Tom Evans, Caleb Olson, Ludovic Pomeray. The men's race is super, super interesting. 4th place finisher from last year, David Ayala, who's been great at a lot of these like Western U.S. 100-mile
silent
races.
Crusher, like just a math professor in Bozeman, Montana. Like he is such a pleasant trail assassin.
He was super strong last year. I would say actually, based on talent, maybe the next person we would go to after those top 3 would be Jimmy Elam, who had the course record at Cascade Crest this year and then won the Mammoth 200. Jimmy, like you said, he's on the wait list, but basically guaranteed to get into Western States. So maybe Jimmy's going to be targeting that Western States Hardrock double record also.
Yeah, I'm curious because I feel like what I've always really respected how Jimmy focuses on a event. It was High Lonesome. This year it was Cascade Crest. Like he had this like very tactical approach to coming and doing the race and doing it really, really well. Having a lot of like, not to say respect for the race, but he seemed to like really hone in on what he was trying to accomplish. And so for me, it's like, how do you turn down getting into Western States in a way? But at the same time, he's very fast. Like if he wanted to go after a golden ticket, I think he probably could. I have to imagine Hardrock is more his thing and the thing that he probably wants to be doing. So I have to think the Utah boys are just really excited to get to have a couple of the whatever the Salt Lake City crew is called. Yeah. That's kind of, I have to imagine that's gotta be where the heart is this year.
Yeah. Really interesting. Yeah, maybe Jimmy and Caleb could work as a team out there in the San Juans, representing Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Arlen Glick is back in to Hardrock. He's
that.
A finisher. He was 4th place in 2023. He passed me in the middle of the night going up Oscar's Pass, just charging as I was in survival mode. Nate Jacqua, who's a 2-time Hurt 100 champion. Jason Schlarb, who's a 2-time podium finisher, including a winner of Hardrock. He tied with Killian in one of Killian's victories. I can't remember what year it was, but I would guess 2018, 2017, somewhere in that neighborhood. I saw Schlarb at TRE, and he was like, yeah, I really hope I get into Hardrock. I was like, yeah, me too, buddy. And it turns out we're both coming back. It's pretty great.
It's very cool.
Ryan Smith, who you just mentioned, another great name. He was 3rd behind Francois and myself in 2021. Also,
were you all ran under course record? Yep. I remember talking to Cortis Hall afterwards, and he's like, when I agreed to pace Ryan 50 miles, I didn't think we'd be running Killian 50-mile pace.
He's also just one of those unsung heroes in the sport. Somebody who's been around for a long time, super consistent.
Oh, they were devastated that you had dropped Tyler Green, who was like pacing you just off of Western States, and they saw his headlamp and caught him and realized it was not you, it was Tyler. And they were like, oh no, like Dylan's running well. That means like, come on.
All right. So let's spend a minute on this. Corrine, I am in at Hardrock. So let me paint the picture of what happened when I left the auditorium at Placer High School yesterday. Okay. I get in my truck, plug in my phone as I do, call my wife in the first couple of blocks as I'm leaving the auditorium. just saying, hey, I'm on my way, just left, and, just catching up basically. And then all of a sudden, because my phone's plugged in, I've got my map feature going on CarPlay. And then all of a sudden I see 1,000 text messages, notifications just flashing on the display of my F-150. So immediately I pull over, and sure enough, it's all like, yes, you're in. So I'm on the phone with my wife, like screaming with joy. And anyway, it was really special moment for me, and I'm so thrilled to go back. And Harmony is also equally thrilled, and it's going to be very special. For those who know my history with Hardrock, I have 2 finishes, both in the counterclockwise direction in 21 and 23. 2 very different race experiences for me. One is maybe the pinnacle performance of my career. One maybe the worst performance of my career. So I would like to have something in between those 2 at the 2026 Hardrock, but I feel so blessed to go for my 3rd lap, this time in the clockwise direction, to hopefully become a true hard rocker. Those within the Hardrock family know that people who go both directions are known as true hard rockers. So I finally have my opportunity to do that. And most importantly, Corrine, I am now committed. This is my comeback, okay? Will you hold me accountable?
I will hold you accountable. I'm going to ask you every week how training's going. I will say, I saw your story. You're out with your weight vest yesterday. And I said, oh, I don't think he knows that Martin Goffrey carries Ruth's weight vest downhill for her after the uphill sessions. And I'm pretty sure Tom carries like rocks or water so that he can dump it out for the downhill. So you're just getting double duty out there, carrying it up and downhill.
That's right. Cause I'm more hardcore than Tom Evans and Ruth Croft, right?
Yeah. I was like, Dylan's got to get on that coaching game. He's going to be ready to go.
I texted Hannah. I said, you better sharpen your pencil. This is Coach Hannah Allgood. I said, I just got into Hardrock, so watch out. So
I love it.
Anyway, I'm ideating races that I can use in the build-up. It's getting very complicated because obviously we do plan to be at some of the big spring races, which makes it hard, to squeeze in real training blocks. But I am now prepared. I am committed that I'm going to be making those work sacrifices in service of my racing career again. This is maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, maybe like a swan song, walk into the sunset type thing. So I do intend to put my full energy, my full focus back into my running again. And it's all thanks to this incredible opportunity to return to Hardrock. So
that makes me happy. You and me both. Okay, we'll have to collaborate offline so that we can dial in our media schedule so that both of us can have a little bit of race fun this spring and summer.
Before we move off Hardrock and start talking about some other news, also Dakota Jones and Jeff Browning are 13th and 14th on the men's finisher wait list. So they're like, I think, firmly on the bubble. When I got in 2023, I was 6th on the men's finisher wait list. And I don't think I got the official invite into the field until June. So they may be on sort of like the unlucky side of that bubble, but it's not unrealistic to think that both Dakota Jones and Jeff Browning could get in addition to these other names. I mean, it could be one of the most exciting hard rocks ever.
Yeah, it really could be. So we're going to get our popcorn ready. July's just around the corner.
Yeah. Okay. So other great news in the sport today, as we're recording this, the California International Marathon is happening. Of course, we don't do a lot of coverage of road races here on Freetrail, but there's some really fun trail related news that's emerging from CIM, starting with Christian Allen. I saw him at the running event last week, TRE down in San Antonio. He said his goal was 2:08. Turns out he ran 2:09.57, still a PR for him. A silly fast, like 4:58 average pace.
When you're under 2:10, like you're fast.
Very good at running.
And most of those guys that are running 2:08, 2:09, all they do is the road marathon. And Christian was 4th in the world at trail and mountain running championships this fall. Like the guy is incredibly talented.
Yeah, he led Team USA to, I think it was a team bronze in the vertical, but he himself was 4th, just out of the medals in Confranc. 3rd place today at CIM at the USATF Marathon Championship. Christian Allen's a real deal.
Yeah, Yeah, ACG, wearing the big ACG logo on that singlet too.
Incredible. And
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I love his personality, and I love that he like really is chasing this hybrid style. He told me he's going to be doing Boston next spring. He races at a high volume. I forget what he mentioned, but he does want to get OCC qualification done early in 26, but then target Boston before really starting his trail season and focusing on Golden Trail and then OCC. So Christian Allen running sub 210, and pointing that towards sort of Golden Trail and OCC next year. I mean, one of the funnest athletes to follow, in my opinion, of this like new generation.
Yeah, he could go race like Arc of Attrition 50K end of January or something.
I think that's the one he mentioned.
Yeah, it's in Cornwall in the UK. It'll be cold and rainy, but coastal, like very beautiful. So that would be a good one. Then full marathon prep February, March, run Boston in April, win 30K at Broken Arrow, and then go to OCC. That'd be a pretty phenomenal 2026 for Christian Allen, for Slim the runner.
Slim the runner on IG. Go give him a follow.
To mention
somebody named Courtney Daulwalter also ran CIM.
Our CIM watch for Courtney Daulwalter. I texted you and I was like, dude, when I texted you, Courtney was maybe just over 20 miles into CIM. And I said, yo, she's projected to run 2:37:01. And the women's Olympic trials qualifying time is 2:37. And she unfortunately faded a little bit to a 2:38:45, something like that. 55. So yeah, like, less than 2 minutes off of an Olympic trials qualifying time in the marathon in the short knees, and, just a little like had some more specific prep for it. It did sound like, I listened to Des and Kara's podcast, and it sounds like she'd been texting Des being like, hey, you want to pace me? Can you come pace? Like, the first half of CIM. And I was like, that would be the collaboration of the century.
Yeah. And then go return the favor at Black Canyon or whatever Des is going to do on the trails. We should say a massive improvement for Courtney off the Twin Cities Marathon, which he did, I think, 2 months ago or so. I think she was about 11 minutes faster. So returning to the road marathon.
Solid. Solid.
Extremely solid. 2:38:55 for the GOAT, Courtney Daulwalter at CIM. It's going to be really interesting to see, what she targets next, because I'm pretty sure looking towards 2026, she's still planning to do Cocodona, where she had that disappointing DNF this year, and then Hardrock, like we just spent the first half of the conversation.
Talk about range.
Totally. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And then I guess
Allen.
Yeah, other folks in the race, Amanda Basham fell off to just over 3 hours, I believe. But Riley Brady, kind of tried to stick in there, fell apart a little bit, ended up running, I think, 2:41. So not a bad run by any means. That's still very, very fast. But I do imagine that Riley was also kind of targeting that 2:37 time, just because that does mean something. It's something that we can all wrap our brains around when it comes to like, how fast is this in comparison to kind of women's road marathoning in general.
Yeah.
Oh, other news that is adjacent to this of trail runners in other sports. We gotta mention that Cam Smith and Anna Gibson are going to the Olympics.
Yes.
So the Home Soil International Ski Mo Federation World Cup took place this weekend at Solitude, and they had a mixed relay and a sprint race, an individual sprint race. The Skimo discipline that's in the Olympics includes a mixed relay, a solo sprint race, and a vertical, I believe. So not quite the grandiose Skimo that many of us know and love. That's a little bit more adventuresome at times. It's very viewer friendly. It's very exciting. Mixed relay is basically the female skier does a lap of the sprint course, tags off to the male skier, does a lap of the sprint course, tags off to the same female for a lap of the sprint course, tags off to the male for a lap of the sprint course. It's about a 12 to 15 minute race, depending on the course. They skin, transition to a boot pack, transition to skinning, transition to a downhill. So they have to do all these skills, including those quick transitions, which is very, very exciting. I don't think the U.S. has ever medaled at a World Cup in this discipline. And I don't think they were expected to either. I think the idea was that North America gets one spot for the relay at the Olympics. that means Canada or the US. They don't each get a spot. They get one spot into the Olympics. And so there was this inter-race battle that was going to be going down in the mixed relay between Canada and the US for that North American spot to go to Cortina. Not only did the US beat Canada in the relay, but they won the whole darn thing, which is very, very exciting. So we will see Cam Smith, who's been kind of the champion of the US Skimo team since its inception, and then newbie to the team, really because Cam convinced her to, Anna Gibson, will be the duo racing in Cortina this February.
That is so awesome. Congratulations.
It's crazy. And they're two athletes that could be dual Olympians if trail running makes it to the Olympics.
Unbelievable, and Anna probably grew up with dreams of like racing on the track at the Olympics, and she's
or even Nordic skiing, right? She grew up as a Nordic skier and an alpine skier in Jackson Hole.
And we'll remember she was like jumping into gravel races this summer too. So Anna Gibson is just like such a multi-sport talent, so fun to follow and so clearly talented. And we will definitely be painting our faces red, white, and blue when the Skimo race happens in Cortina.
The other piece of that puzzle is that I think there was an inter-race race between Sweden and Poland as well for one of the European slots. And I think Sweden got it. And the female skier on that team is none other than Tove Alexandersson.
No way.
So I think Tove will also be in the Olympics representing Sweden on their relay team.
Unbelievable. Thank you for that quick Skimo update here in today's show. Congratulations to all. And actually, it feels like maybe a cool transition to start talking about, I was at the running event last week. And so just going back to CIM briefly, the winner on the men's side was a gentleman by the name of Futson Zienselassie, who I think is of Ethiopian origin, but lives here in the U.S. I really don't know much about him. The thing that caught my eye is that he's sponsored by Salomon. So Salomon, clearly, basically the point I'm trying to make as we move towards TRE is like, trail running is like very much still central to, this moment in running. There was a lot of trail running happening at TRE, a lot of, brands and excitement and people from the media and athletes, et cetera. So just a lot of energy around the sport. But also, now all these brands are trying to play in both sports. Obviously we have seen Nike now launching ACG. Adidas has always had Terex. Hoka obviously started in trail, but makes great road product also. And now Salomon, who's clearly not been a major player in road footwear, though they've been making it for a while, the champion of CIM is a Salomon athlete. So now Salomon is clearly in the road running game. But anyway, TRE, very exciting. You weren't there, but the energy was awesome. I just have a couple of thoughts here, if you don't mind.
Fill me in. Catch me up.
All right. So Brooks had the biggest booth at TRE, which I don't think is unusual because they sort of dominate specialty retail. And TRE is an event that's really for brands and their retail partners. So all the brands are having meetings with retailers. They're placing orders for, I think it's next fall or winter. So Brooks clearly, maintaining that leadership position with specialty retail. I think as it relates to trail, the Brooks new Cascadia Elite shoe is maybe one of the coolest single products that I saw. And of course, I'm only looking at trail products there. So it seems like Brooks, speaking of Anna Gibson, has a lot of momentum behind them now in running in general, but also with that specific trail product. Obviously, the whole ACG thing, they announced the partnership with Broken Arrow. I'd love to get your 2 cents on that. We did sort of an emergency pod on that. Massive cash prize at Broken Arrow, new title sponsor, signals Nike / All Conditions gear. Very serious moving into trail running. Do you want to spend a minute on that?
Yeah, I was excited. Well, I first obviously saw the Gorge news and I was like, wow, that's a big deal. That's really exciting. It's in Nike's backyard. That makes a lot of sense. I think we've thought that for years and years and years now. I had heard that Salomon was moving away from being the Broken Arrow sponsor. And I think many of us are speculating who was going to be stepping in to fill that void? Would it be Brooks? Would it be Nike? Would it be On? Like, people want that weekend in part because it builds now into TrailCon in Western states. Like, it is a 10-day long, very important chunk of our season. And so to now all of a sudden not only have ACG come in as the title sponsor, but for them to come in with that amount of prize money. Again, we said $30K for the win and the 23K, $150K distributed over the course of the weekend over their 3 main distances, the VK, the 23K, and the 46K. Just like that's a lot. That's a lot for trail. It's a lot more, it feels a little bit more legitimate, and like they are ready to be legitimate in the sport is kind of what it says to me. Obviously, Nike is a massive company. I was reading a newsletter today, and I think a Matt Walsh newsletter, and I think the gross income for Nike over the previous 3 months in comparison to Hoka is massive. Like, Nike has the resources, so seeing them coming to play in a serious way in the races they are investing in, and the fact that they are investing in independent races and independent race orgs as opposed to entire series, I think is a smart play. And I think it's meaningful. And I think they need that in the sport. Like, we need ACG to do that. And I think it also, and not to say it brings them validity, but it does. It's a big showing of goodwill by a big corporate entity. And goodwill goes a long way in a kind of community-centric sport.
Yeah. One thing that I think is interesting that has been on my mind since we recorded that little emergency pod. So especially the 23K is going to be ridiculous at Broken Arrow, $30,000 to win. I don't think this is totally finalized, but Brendan had sent me an idea of how he was going to distribute the cash. So second place, he was anticipating being $12,000, third place, $6,000 for the 23K. This year in the men's race, El Hussein finished first. Patrick Kimneno was second. Philemon Kiriago was third. There was a total of 16 seconds that separated those top 3. So it's going to be a difference of $24,000 between, because we can expect that's going to draw the likes of those athletes again, some of these top dog, short distance, golden trail type athletes. Plus, I bet there'll be a lot of road to trail crossover athletes who want to take a swing at that type of a prize purse. But basically my point is that it's going to come down to seconds, and there's going to be massive cash distribution differences in those couple of seconds. So,
it's going to make the race really interesting. And I think it sounds like they're going to pay out deeper than 3 potentially, which
paying 10 deep,
which is important because it means like you're racing for every place. It means something to finish 9th because you are taking away like a little bit of change from the weekend. So it's not like, I'm not top 3, like, guess I'll walk it in. It's like, you want to stay on the gas because every single position in the top 10 is going to get paid out and it's going to mean something.
Yeah. A couple other notes here before we move on from TRE. Hoka also had massive footprint there. New product looks really cool. So shout out to your team there at Hoka. Looks like they're continuing to make some great trail product looking ahead towards 26. I would say sort of maybe the big surprise for me is La Sportiva. It seems like they're really on a hot one right now with that Prodigio Pro franchise that they had this year. It seems like they're building on that for next year. So keep a lookout for that. But it seems like La Sportiva, who's been in the game now forever, has really caught a second wind and is making some really good footwear product. Also, going back to the ACG thing, that Radical Airflow shirt that Caleb was wearing at Western States, it seems like they're building like a whole platform around that. So obviously they'll do like a tank and a short sleeve to complement the long sleeve that we'll remember Caleb won the race in, plus like a Radical Airflow hat and some sleeves I saw in the booth too. So seems like there's going to be a whole portfolio of fun cooling products based on that innovation. And then the last bullet that I had, I think the hottest brand in the game right now, and this will be a good segue to our next topic, is Norda. They launched a new shoe, the 055 at TRE, and it looks amazing. Super beautiful, great energy at the booth the whole time. And evidently they're just growing gangbusters right now, which subjectively I feel, as I interact with trail runners around the world.
Yeah, I mean, and the interesting thing about the Norda shoe, I think, is it's a little bit of a departure from their previous shoes. So some of the same features, like the Dyneema upper, but adding a little bit of a knit gaiter, adding a little bit more stack height, a little bit more cushion underfoot. It's a different offering in comparison, I think, to their initial models of shoe, which will fill. It's not going to be. It might not replace your 005, for example, but it's another shoe for your quiver that I think makes a lot of sense.
It's a Hardrock shoe. Say that.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, great segue, because on Thanksgiving Day, there was a big news announcement that maybe some people missed because of the holiday. Rachel Entrekin signs with Norda. Big deal. And to me, feels like a really interesting and good move on both sides.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out a little bit, just like given her relationship with Precision and the shirts that they had been making. All of a sudden you're moving to a brand that is, working to make their own apparel. We've all felt this moving brand to brand, right? Like she's got a relationship with Tantrums. Like, is Norda, while they might not be putting them in a pack, is Norda okay with Tantrums logos? Like, how does that change? Like, what is she needing to give up or alter in her current contracts in order to be on the Norda contract and vice versa? So I'm curious to see kind of what that ultimately looks like when it comes to like the presented Rachel, the presented product at, races this spring.
Yeah. To me, it makes a lot of sense, but I think unequivocally you could say it's a huge get for Norda. I think she becomes basically their marquee athlete. And it's interesting because, like I said, at TRE, it feels like Norda is the most ascendant brand in the sport. And you could make an argument that Rachel is the most ascendant athlete in the sport right now. Obviously having an amazing season, winning Cocodona, the Mammoth 200, plus High Lonesome and a million other races.
Yeah. And my thing is that like, she's freaking crushing.
Yeah.
And I want her to race the races that make her happy. But I also would love to see her in a Black Canyon or in a Chianti or in a race where it's like, I kind of needed, like, it was like Tara Dower, like coming back from the AT to Black Canyon. And we're like, oh, the long trail girl has wheels. And no one doubts that Tara Dower has wheels now. I think that there is this hesitation around Rachel in which it's like, she obviously can throw down, but the shorter races that she's competed in haven't been the like kind of marquee-esque events. And so it's hard to quantify what she's doing at times. And she's not like a local legend in the sense that she only races in a specific region, but I want to see her racing in the 100K to 100 mile distance with a fully like quantified field where we can say, oh yeah, that is like Rachel has this level of wheels and she is ready to throw down with this group of people, because right now her being able to put Cocodona into the same sphere as like a golden ticket race, for example, it's really hard to do that. And so I think that's my biggest thing is that like her performances have been ascendant in the 200 mile distance. Like no doubt, like her Cocodona was wild. Her Mammoth was super impressive, but I want to see, obviously I would love to see her in a race like Hardrock. I would love to see her in a race like UTMB, like Western States. And at the same time, it's like, I don't want to force her to race races she doesn't want to race, but if you want to be in the conversation, I kind of think you have to race the races.
Yeah.
You can't win a race you don't show up to is my thing. And it's like, if you're as good as these other women, I want to see you all race together.
And I think that will be the story of 2026 for Rachel.
Honestly. I have to imagine so.
She is, I think, at least, publicly, privately mentioned that she's probably going to be going to Chianti in all likelihood to chase a golden ticket to Western States. And we can all look forward to seeing how that evolves, and having her at Western States would be a great opportunity to, basically race that world-class field for the first time as, quote unquote, one of the most ascendant athletes in the sport, something I think the whole trail community would look forward to. But congrats to Rachel, probably an athlete who we were all waiting to secure a real partnership. This thus begins the 2026 free agency season. This is something that we keep track of at fantasy.freetrail.com every year. I'm definitely hearing some rumors that there's going to be some movement. I doubt it's going to be as dramatic as last year, but Corrine and I will be here on the Rest Day pod to contextualize each and every move as it unfolds here as 2025 turns to 2026, and a lot of these athletes swap sponsors. Last thing I've written down, although I know you wanted to touch on Chiang Mai briefly too, is I just wanted to mention that voting for Trail Runner of the Year is open to the public. And I wanted to spend a minute on the Trail Team of the Year category, which we're debuting here at the end of 2025. This, Corrine, was, I think it's a great extension of what we've built. So to this point, Trail Runner of the Year has consisted of two things. Trail Runner of the Year, which is recognizing the top athletes in the sport each and every season. Then there's Trail Performance of the Year, which is recognizing the top single performances of the season. Now we have the Trail Team of the Year, which is going to recognize the brand team, the single brand team that performed best on the global stage in 2025. My inspiration for this, Corrine, was Formula One. You'll know that in Formula One, there's two awards. The Drivers' Championship, which recognizes the best driver in the series, which this is all actually concluding this weekend. I think it was in Abu Dhabi, the race this weekend, where Lando Norris won the Drivers' Championship. And then there's the Constructors' Championship, which recognizes the best team in Formula One. So to me, when I sort of got familiar with this sport, I was thinking, I wonder how we could fold this in. So here's how we're doing it. We are recognizing one Trail Team of the Year, okay? But the result is going to be derivative of the Trail Runner of the Year vote. So it makes everybody's vote for Trail Runner of the Year even more significant. If we reverse engineer what happened last year, Normal was the Trail Team of the Year in 2024.
Interesting.
With El Hussein, Joyce and Jayru, and Killian Jornet all in the top 10. So what we're doing is you have to have at least one from each gender. So if you have two men, you have to have one woman, or two women and one man. And we're going to score it cross-country style. So it'll be top three represented in the Trail Runner of the Year vote. You have to have at least one of each gender. And then it'll be the lowest ranking, the highest ranking, the lowest total number based on the ranking of Trail Runner of the Year. So that's something that we're very excited to roll out this year. And it should be a fun new tradition that we add to our end of season vote. Any comments or questions on Trail Runner of the Year, Corrine?
No, I am so excited because you and I will have to record an end of year pod, and I need to do a little bit more research before we do that. Yeah. And it's hard. It's a super hard vote. And you got to remove your biases. You got to remove your popularity vote. You got to take your friend hat off, and you really have to think about it as not just the names you've heard, but look at their performances and look at what people actually put together this year. And that is easier said than done. And then I think it's you've got to remember that we're just finishing out the season, and there were some kind of late races that you got to think about. So recency bias is a real thing. I was talking about Chiang Mai, Dima Mitiev went back, doubled back to Chiang Mai and won the 100K after being second at UTCT. That was insane. The woman who was second in the 100K at UTCT doubled back and won the 100 mile at Chiang Mai, another Russian athlete. Those performances are crazy. And so taking those things into account while also not forgetting what happened at Madeira or Black Canyon or those early season races that took place forever ago that are so easy to also write off. So you do have to kind of refresh what happened over the entire year and then get ready to submit those ballots a couple times. And you can resubmit and resubmit and resubmit until it locks down. And I would even recommend doing that, continuing to finesse it as you get closer to the deadline.
Yeah. I have been messing with my ballot now for almost a week, and I can say it's genuinely borderline stressful.
I believe it.
This year. I mean, it's a really interesting year, and people, as they interact with their own ballots at fantasy.freetrail.com, they will probably feel that too. And we definitely do encourage everybody to vote. So you can go do that. You have until December 16th to lock in your ballot, and we'll begin recognizing those top athletes and top performances starting January 1st, 2026. Was there anything else you wanted to mention on Chiang Mai, or based on, because basically my interpretation of the text exchange that we had was effectively Dmitry and this other Russian athlete were basically
Antonio
punching their ticket to the world final.
Yeah, like Leshniva, like that was really cool that they went to the Continental Championships to get stuff kind of secured for next year in a big way. And actually, I think Antonia, the Russian gal, did the same double last year too, which is like, and it had the same outcome, like second at UTCT and first in the 100 mile, I believe. Sunmaya also doubled back. So you got to remember now that Sunmaya was second at Worlds, first by an hour at Cape Town, and then fourth, maybe on a bum ankle, at Chiang Mai 100K. Like that is a wild span of racing. And it's just interesting to see athletes kind of like have to button up their season somehow to get things done. I mean, Abby Hall just went and set the course record at McDowell Mountain Frenzy 50 mile, running the 13th fastest time ever, including all the guys that have raced there, won overall and ran 7:16 or something.
What? I didn't even see this.
Yeah. So she signed up 2 days before. It was yesterday. Signed up 2 days before, went and threw down a 7:16 50 mile by herself at McDowell.
Holy
basically.
Cow. All right. Well, I got to text Trav and make sure he adds that to the portfolio of performances for Abby Hall, who will certainly be in the mix for Trail Run of the Year.
Yeah, I think that kind of was like a palate cleanser post UTMB and stuff. And so it was good to see that. Turns out Abby Hall's in great shape and can run a really good 50 mile right now too.
And returning to the Western States 100, what a perfect way to circle back to the beginning of our conversation at the conclusion here. Corrine, so good to get back on the horn together. It was great to knock the rust off and broadcast together at the Western States Lottery this weekend. Any closing comments for you? Any things you want to plug as we wrap up here today?
I think that was it as far as like the last little bit of things. Like I'm excited to close out the year here in a couple of weeks and put together all the Troy results with you. But we've got a couple more weeks, so we got a little bit of time to finesse our ballots before everything is said and done.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. For Corrine Malcolm, I'm Debo. See you guys next time.